Hey, so with Apple development, one of the biggest thing which has come up, the latest thing which has come up in Apple development in terms of UI development is called Stack View, and Stack View is a new technology which is basically, according to Apple, is a way to simplify the UI layout. Now, Apple's iOS development has always had these constraints and auto layout features which need to be added into your project to make it compatible with all the Apple devices. And Apple claims that with Stack View, this has become much more easier and much smarter for people to do. So it's just recently launched, and we'll do a quick review of the Stack View features. So in my mind, Stack View is simply similar to the Flexibox which we have. So if you are one of those CSS HTML junkies, or if you haven't touched the layout featuring of HTML and CSS3, see, the latest feature in CSS3 is called Flexi Layout, and Stack View is very similar to that. Okay, and because the way it considers the UIs, it takes it into an overall stack, and then you can play around with each of the elements there. I think it's a great thing, and I was going through it, and I thought it's a good thing to share with all. So the way Stack View work is that the auto layout that you have whenever you create an app, you need to create an app. So the logic part is done, and then you need to create that app for, let's say you created an app for iPhone 5, then you need to create it for iPhone 7 and 8 and now iPhone 10. So the way Stack View works is that it allows you to build in those auto view layouts and auto constraints, and it helps you to simplify the entire process. So instead of looking at creating blocks of view UI containers, you use Stack View as an overall and then build it up. So let's jump into it, understand what it does. So what I'm going to do is these are some of the views of Stack View, and this is how it's looking like in Flexibox. So let's start off a project here, and I am going to start a project with a single view application, and let's call this project calculator, and I'm going to create it here. So what we want to do here is you must have all seen the calculator app, right? So this is the calculator app, and we are going to use this layout in the calculator app to sort of build the same thing up in our UI elements. So let's go into the main storyboard. So I'm not going to go in and create the logic of it. We'll do that another time. So I just want to show you how the calculator app looks. So the calculator app obviously has a set of buttons, and it's got a label here where you add in the data. So let's just create some of those buttons here, and here's the button layout that I'm going to add into our file. So let me take a button and drag it here and leave it here. All right, and let us give this button numbering of 1. Okay, and let's just give it some sort of a quality, and let's just give it a default color of white and a background color of gray, and let's just increase the font size to maybe 30. Okay, I'm going to make it a little more darker. Okay, so this is our button number 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press option and click and drag. So what it does is it creates a copy of this, and the good part is that when it creates a copy, it copies most of the features of this. So if you are in the process of creating an app in the future, and let's say you want to connect all the UI buttons to the same actions button. So then you can use this option, create several buttons, give it a characteristic. For example, I can give it a characteristic and link it to my view controller, and then instead of doing it for every one of that, I can just copy all of that and do it in one go. So it's an easier method of doing it. So anyway, I'm not going into the logic right now. I'm just wanting to focus on the stack view. So here what I will do is, this is my stack view overview. So I want to create 10 buttons like this. So what I do is I copy all of this, okay, and then I go into this particular option which is down here. It's called embedded stack, and I click this option, and when I click this, it gives me this feature as a combined box. So now this is acting as a container here, and you can play around with this and you can create more of these. So you can also identify each of these buttons separately, but the way it's going to act is that it's going to act as a stack. So this is your stack, and you can display this stack horizontally, or you can display this stack vertically. So I'm going here and doing that. So let's just display this stack horizontally for now, and I want to copy this and create another set of this. Okay, so I got this sets here. Now as you would notice that it has created 4 stack views here for me, and that's what this particular feature does. So let's just give it some numbering now. 4, 5, 5 and 6. So this will be our 7, 8 and 9, and here I will give it the 0 button and point and equal to. So I need to actually add this as well, but I'm just going to do only this because I want to show you how it works. So now we have copied the stack or the first stack below. So we basically replicated the 1, 2, 3, and we have copied it using option and then the click button, like so. So I'm just showing you one more time the entire thing, option, and I can move it and I can click and I create another one. For example, I just show you I'm creating option and I'm creating another one. So like so I've created all of that. So now since we've done this, now let's make this as one block. So the whole idea of stack view is to look at this UI view as one block. So what I'm going to do is I am going here and then clicking this. The moment I click this, another stack container will be created. So what it does is that it creates a stack view which is an overall view of the total block, and within those stack it has got 1, 2, 3, and you got 4, 5, 6 and 6, 7, 8. So this is what it does, and now we can play around with this particular block as if it's one block. So the way I'm going to play around with this is I'm going to go to my attributes inspector and I'm going to say fill equally, okay, and I'm going to increase the spacing to 10, okay. So now we got equal spacing here. Now we want to fill this entire block, this rectangle block, with these numbers. So to do that, you go to the constraint inspector and you add, basically you remove every constraint and you say you want to put everything in one block. So you say let's just give it a padding, if you may, of 10, 10, 10 and 10. And if I add 4 constraints, so it will occupy the entire screen and it will give me a padding of 4. So this is very similar to the way CSS Flexibox works. So you give padding to this and then you're done. I don't think they use the word padding, but for me, I think the word padding means to give it enough space at the edges, so it's quite intuitive a word. Now we've done this, so we're pretty much done. Now I want to add a label to it. So to do that, what I'm going to do is, and if I click, let's say, stack view on top, the entire view is selected. Now if I want to add a label to it, I go and add a label on top of it. And when I do this, be a little careful. You see that that yellow button which is coming in, put it exactly there. Don't put it here or here, because then the label will come here. So you put it exactly on top of that and release it. So now we've got our label here, and you can increase the default size of the label to whatever you want to, let's say 40. Okay, and then I want to move it to the right side, and perhaps we will give it a background. So instead of giving it a background and playing around with this, what I will do is I'll give my label a block. And how do I do it? I go and type view, and I pull a UI view from here like so. Sorry, I use a UI view like so, and I place it just below my label. And just hold on with me on this one, and the UI views come here, and UI view is basically my block. So I move my label into the block, the UI view block, and now I can play around with the UI, and my label can be wherever it wants to. So let's say my UI block is here, and I can give my my label can be transparent, but my UI block, for that I will give it a color of dark gray. So what it does is that it sort of sits inside the UI block. Now I can give it a white color inside, so my label changes its color and it becomes like so. So I can play around with this particular block, and now within the UI block this becomes another element. So if I want to add some values here, I can do like so. If I want to add 2 constraints, I can add constraints within the block, so the label doesn't have any reference to the entire UI element here. It has the reference within the block. Now this is very useful because it helps you bucket your problem into one space. And now what I'm going to do is we're pretty much done, but what I'm going to do is I will show you one more trick here, and which is to have a disproportionate view of the buttons. So let's say we had we wanted to expand our view. So let me remove one of these, and let's say I wanted to make this 0 come all the way till here, like so, right? So if I wanted to have this 0 here, so you go here, as you said, we selected both of these, and go to its parent stack. So this is the parent stack here, and in the parent stack I go to the attributes inspector and say fill proportionally. It was fill equally, so I say fill proportionally. And now if I go to the ruler button here, which is the size inspector, and hang on, I got to select both of these, and once I select both of these, it gives me this edit button, and in the edit button I can show the proportionality in the multiplier. So let's say I want to use the constraint as 1:2, and when I say 1:2, this gives me this is 1 becomes 2 of the rest of the block. And if I had 4 blocks, I could have said 1:2 is to let's say 3 or something of that sort. So you can play around with it. It's good fun, but in the brevity of things, I just thought I'll show you this. Now one last thing I wanted to show you is, if you want to change, if you had a bigger number here, let's say like so, and this obviously is not able to contain in this particular block. So if you get stuck with this particular issue, go to its parent stack and go to the attributes inspector, and instead of saying distribute equally, choose fill proportionally. So then this number changes, and you get a different, you get it completely shown in the UI. So this is a method of containing numbers within. So the salient features really of Stack View is to get everything boxed, and you have the property given to the box as a predefined property, so you don't have to create containers and put stuff inside that and then give it constraint, because this comes as predefined constraints, and then you can play around with the box rather than playing around with individual UI elements like buttons and labels and so on and so forth. So this comes as predefined, and this is new to Swift, and it is new to iOS. So this was a quick short video I wanted to sort of share with you about Stack View and the benefits of using Stack View in creating your UI elements. So thanks for that, and have a great day.